Good morning, y'all. I just wanted to come with y'all and give a little message today. Actually, we're going to start out and I'm going to give you a story about what happened to us last night and some of the things that have happened to us in the years before. We started this YouTube channel to help others with their business, but over time, I've incorporated a lot of stuff out of our personal life, with my story videos and stuff. And excuse my voice right now, I've been sick. But I had a message prepared. Well, I was preparing it. I wasn't real sure how I was going to go with it. That's how I kind of knew it wasn't what the Lord wanted me to speak on. And then when this item happened last night, it brought to my mind what needed to be spoke on. And it's highly personal for our family. And it's pretty emotional for our family. So, y'all please bear with me. I'm going to try to get it all done in the 15 minutes, so here we go. Alright, now, last night, my son, we had him vacuuming. And his mama had just told him, hold the wire up to the side while you're vacuuming and don't run over it. Well, of course, what does he do? I'm standing there, I'm watching him, because with our situation, we have to watch him. But we're trying to give him more responsibilities and helping him progress along those lines. Well, he does not pick up the wire, and he does run over it. But the scary thing is, it gets trapped in the spinners under the vacuum, and it tears off the coating of the wire. So he lays it down, and before I could get to him, he's trying to reach in after the wire, and it's smoking. So I holler for him to stop, and he stopped. Thank the Lord he stopped. Well, I get over to it and it's still smoking. It's arcing in there, and I yank it out and I show him what could have happened, what he should have did, because he was reaching for the area of the wire that was burnt, and it could have shocked him. But luckily, as I looked closer, what was actually smoking was where the turners were turning on the rubber of the wire. It broke the rubber and some of the paper, but didn't get all the way down to the copper. So he would have been safe, but it could have been, if it would have went a little bit further, he could have got shocked last night. And that's pretty upsetting, Let's get to the brass tacks of the situation. Our little boy has high functioning autism, as they call it. He's got Asperger's, I guess, and he's got the ADHD, the hyperactivity, dyslexia, and oppositional. Okay, there it is. It's all out there. He has beat the oppositional, which really makes him, what that is like, say you're getting out of a car and there's another car coming and you grab him by the arm to kind of pull him back your way. His first instinct is to yank away from you and get away from you. That's what oppositional is. Now, his dyslexia, he's still gets some letters and numbers backwards, but he's for the most part beating it. Now, they told us that he probably wouldn't never read or write. He wouldn't ride a bicycle. He wouldn't tie his shoes. But we are not the type to take anything sitting down. So my wife and I, mainly my wife, because I drive, and y'all drivers know how it is. I put forth the effort when I'm home. I do the studying on what he's dealing with, and I'm there for her on the phone. But for the most part, during this lease, at least, she's been doing it all her own. Okay? And he'll always be able to say, my mama taught me how to read. My mama taught me to tie my shoes. And my mama taught me to ride my bike. His mama has helped him get through so much that they always said that he wasn't going to be able to do. They told us if we wouldn't homeschooling him, that he would not be at the point he is now. They told us what the schools would do would put him in the room and pretty much forget about him. And that's not acceptable. With a child like that, you have to find out their strengths and weaknesses, and you have to reach in there and reach them where they're at. You may want them to be on this page, but they're on this page. You have to go back to that page and reach them and bring them across. You can't let them stay in a bad way. You have to encourage them. You have to push them. Whatever it takes. My son really has selective hearing. Really bad. So it forces us to raise our voice for him to hear it. And it's heartbreaking sometimes because he has so much going on in his head and has so much activity in there that he literally will not hear you if you talk low. You have to raise your voice for him to hear it, for him to stop what he's doing. And sometimes it's a lot to handle. And there's been times where he's done some things that have really almost got him badly hurt, but last night could have really been bad. And you know, he's our world, mine and my wife's. I mean, it took us 3 years to get him here, and he's been such a blessing. And we most probably will never have another child, so all our eggs are in his basket. But he's great. We wouldn't change him for the world. With his, what the world calls problems, come a lot of gifts, because when he was tested with all that, they did the IQ test also, and he's far above average. His analytical skills and his vocabulary are really high, but his English and such was really back. But you know, now he can read the Bible and understand it in the King James Version. There's a lot of people that are grown-ups that cannot read this Bible in the King James Version and make heads or tails out of it. And that child can. He can write. He's doing his arithmetic. Now, he's a little bit behind on some of it, but he's grasping it. And I'm telling y'all, we all have our little issues that hold us back in certain areas. But don't let them hold you back. You fight through it, you push through it, and you make it happen. And if you have a child at home, reach them where they're at. Even if they're neurotypical, or if they have Asperger's, or if they're Down syndrome, you reach into that child, you find out where they are, and you meet them there. Because they're not going to be capable to meet you where you are. You're the adult. You're the functioning person. You have to be able to adapt yourself and meet them where they're at. And as a man, you are the leader of your family. And that's where I'm going with all of this. You are responsible for your leadership, protection, and provision for your family. Alright? That should be your first priority. The other day I mentioned priorities and how they give you your life structure. And that's what I'm going to continue on the path of today. In 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8. Let's see if I can get it to focus in here for you. But if any provide not for his own, and specially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith, and is worse than an infidel. This is in the New Testament. Let me put it in these other words that they have on the internet. Anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household, has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. That puts it pretty high on your priority list. If you are a believer, you provide. Now, you may have family members that you don't think deserve any help, that they may not even like you. But as a man and as a member of that family, they are your first and foremost responsibilities. Yes, we feel bad for other families that have a hard time. Yes, we feel bad for the homeless. Yes, we feel bad for those that have been injured and the widowed. But you cannot take care of them until you can make dang sure that your family and your relatives are taken care of first. Because that is hugely important, biblically important. Do not deny the faith. Take care of your family. In Colossians 3:19, husbands, love your wives and be not bitter to them. Children, obey your parents. In Colossians, Timothy, Proverbs, there's a lot of directions for you men and your families. I could go on for hours and give you the directions that God gives us for our families. Right here, fathers, provoke not your children to anger, or they'll be discouraged. That's great advice. Because a lot of us men like to pick on our kids or joke with our kids. And what we don't realize sometimes is our kids take it to heart. Because we are their fathers and mothers, and they look up to us. And when we give them a hard time every day in and out, we can crush their spirit. Don't crush their spirits. Lift them up. Just like last night when my son did that, I showed him the proper way to handle the situation. Unplug it, then pull it out. Don't touch the brass, don't touch the copper, the shiny stuff. And then I explained to him how we would fix it. We took some electrical tape, we wrapped it up, and then I made him vacuum again, which he did not want to do. He was afraid and terrified. But we pushed through it, and I showed him everything was fine. And sometimes we just have to encourage them, just like when somebody falls off a horse. It's highly important to get back on that horse and get to riding. I personally don't like horses because they kick you in the head. I've had friends kicked in the head, and that's not pretty. I like a four-wheeler. Get on a four-wheeler because you can control that a lot better than you can a horse. Now, you hear a lot of people talking about what's wrong with this country. And if this country would get back to having strong families, men and women raising children, giving them priorities, giving them structure, eating at the kitchen table, turning off the TV, turning off the devices, it would make a lot of difference in our culture. Some of you know the difference that it can make. And some of you did not have the dad in your life. Now, my dad and my mom, they had their problems. They were wild. They were Mississippi hippies. But they stayed together. Now, we didn't always eat at the table, but we stayed together. We worked together. Whenever they went to church, we would go to church together. We went to church a pretty good bit when I was younger, but as we grew older, the church did things and kind of drove my mom and dad out, and those people will answer for that. Matter of fact, some of them are answering for it today. But that is something I wanted to share with y'all. I've got people in my own family that don't believe in the ADHD, that don't believe in the Asperger's. They just think they need butt whoopings. And I can't really fault them because before I had my son, I didn't truly believe it. But I do now. And y'all trust me, it's a real thing. God bless, and we'll catch you on the next ride.